Hey, HappiDaze here. In today's video, we are doing some PvP. I've been gone for a little bit. Unfortunately, I had some sickness going through the house, and then tweaked my back shoveling, so it's been kind of painful to do long periods of recording and editing, so luckily feeling much better now. Gonna go back to your normal cadence of videos, so I figured why not start with my favorite game mode in the game, which is obviously the PvP game mode. So going in here, I missed the first day, so there's no way I can get the max rewards. It just, unfortunately, the game was the last thing on my mind with going through all the stuff that I was going through, so hey, sometimes it happens, life happens. So the most I'll be able to get is 12 out of 12 for this GP season, but on the flip side, that gives me the ability to do a lot of these matches where I can just kind of do whatever I want. Take a lot of risks, see what's going on here. So in this first clip, obviously seeing what we can do here, same as we did last GP season, we're using the Luffy Bonnie unit. They're kind of really awesome with the teams. This team right here, especially, is just amazing against so many teams. Then you have the Free Spirit team with the Sabo and the Kuma and the Luffy Bonnie and Caesar, and it just absolutely slaps. So I figured, what the heck, we're going to see if we can maintain the same kind of cadence that we did with the last season and see if we can still win these battles. So again, I'm hoping to see some different matches here. I am going to do a bunch of skips just because one, if I'm doing it kind of live, sometimes it's funner to do it that way instead of having to clip and edit. I want you to show real gameplay and kind of how I go through a lot of these battles. And if I know I win it, then I hit skip. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, I'm not really worried about getting the max reward, so I'm much more inclined to skip 4 times when otherwise I might wait so I could get a special maybe off. So far we're doing pretty good against the Int G5 leader. He obviously gets his burst by doing damage, so we prevent people from doing damage. We prevent that burst from going off. So we're going to take a little bit of a shot here. You can see it hits pretty good. But I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. With the death hit from Garp and a special up my sleeve, like there's literally nothing that they can do to beat me. So we'll take the win. We'll get the easy W and go on and see what other captains are there. So for the second fight, I was like, okay, well, you know what? We did the Int Luffy fight for the first one. Let's try Kuma and see how he does. Now, he does get 4 burst charges, which is just insanely nasty in terms of what he can actually do. But I was like, you know what, I feel pretty confident here that, you know, as long as we can come out of this first match strong, that we'll be able to kind of take a bunch of damage on that second match and really close it up on the third match with a kind of a mirror team if we have to. So coming out onto this team, it is the Dex team. Obviously super bulky, but luckily they don't have like a ton of like crazy good Dex units. Obviously they have the Kizaru unit there who can do the death hit, which is always a pain to deal with, but it's something that we can't get around. And we charge our burst gauge here by just doing hits, so it's pretty easy to get this burst gauge basically just ready to go. And right, once we use it there, we should be able to do a good chunk of damage. We had Law right there who did like 40% of their HP, so combine that with a burst special here, and boom, you can pretty easily knock off one of them. I do have the Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji here, almost up to level 150. I think I actually might be level 150. So you can see they just hit like an absolute tank. And like I said, I have the death hit from Garp if anything goes wrong, so really not worried about winning this first fight. So again, just in the entrance of saving some time, what we're going to do on these kind of live walkthrough videos is we're just going to just skip it when we have to, just because it's a lot easier. And saves time on getting these videos out and keeping them to a more condensed pace here. So for the second battle, again, really doesn't matter here. Really, the goal is to kind of bait out different bursts if we have to. Now, we did get a little bit lucky here, and it was the side team. So obviously the Nishidoro here is someone you have to watch out for. He hits pretty hard. Yamato and Odin still do some damage, can still do some damage, and the bind things that Odin does is kind of really annoying. But ultimately, like, this isn't really that scary of a side team. If they didn't have a burst, I wouldn't have any worry at all about kind of beating this. Of course, with them having a burst and this team kind of not having a ton of defense, you do have to worry if you take any major shots here. So you can see, like, we took a bunch of shots here. Just because this team really isn't built to stand a lot of nasty specials, and we just took a killer one here. So obviously coming down to the third match, not where you want to be, especially with them having a special still up their sleeve. and it's a mirror match here. I did get lucky that they didn't have Caesar or the Usopp and Lilith on their team, so I have the advantage of, one, getting that debuff to their CT speed to kind of really help get going pretty quick. Obviously, with that and having a special ready to go, I can rewind their special by 30% with my GP burst, and basically ensure that my Kuma and Luffy will go first. Of course, the death hit from Yamato is always something that's really annoying that you have to deal with. But there we go, to the 30% HP cut. It also gets pretty much everyone ready to go. For some reason there, Kuma was just like, hey, I'm just not going. Why do I want to go? So unfortunately, I didn't get to use Kuma first. But that actually isn't the worst thing, because that means that when Kuma goes, we'll basically recharge the Luffy Bonnie special there and kind of get it back up. We're going to take the death shot here from Yamato, which is always just a pain to deal with. 7,500 fixed damage. It always tends to target Luffy Bonnie in this team, which is a huge pain, right? Because there's not a ton of units on here that do a lot of damage, right? Sabo, Koala, and Luffy are kind of the main damage dealers there. But really, at the end of the day, it didn't matter. We were still able to kind of eke through, beat the Kuma boss there, and go into the third battle of that day. So, again, stupid me here. I was like, oh, hey, it's Kaido. Well, let's just fight Kaido, not realizing how many burst gauges he had. I did see that the first team on this fight was a shooter team, so I was like, you know what? That's awesome. This is the anti-shooter team. So I felt pretty confident that I would be able to beat the first fight without too much problems. Now, they do have Mars on this team, which obviously is a pain to deal with. Kuma, again, pain to deal with. Usopp will let the special gimmicks there, just a pain to deal with. So I want to get this team kind of killed quick. So that's kind of my biggest concern, was really worrying about like the Mars and the death that was kind of coming there. But I felt pretty confident that, you know, given what we had, we'd be good. The only downside here is that the Kaido Burst Captain gets charged by taking damage, right? And these teams do a lot of damage, especially on this team. If the Boa goes or Luffy goes, like, that's just a absolute ton of damage that gets thrown on there. So of course that's something that we have to worry about, because that's going to charge Kaido Burst Gauge. And it's kind of 50-50 if he'll use it on the first fight, and if he doesn't use it on the first fight, then that means that we're going to take an absolute ton of damage on the preceding fights, and most likely we'll have to deal with some bursts on that final fight, which is never kind of the situation that you want to find yourself in. So you can see here, we're chugging along pretty good. We're going to use one of the specials just so we can kind of start charging it. We do take a little bit of damage here from the Kaido special, so the painful thing is that he does the force out, right? The Boa there was ready to go, got forced out, which is unfortunate for us, so we have to kind of wait 7 seconds for them to come back in. But luckily for us, on the back bench, we do have Walker, who does a good amount of damage himself when he can go. And really just waiting for those units to come back from the bench so they can do their hits and kind of get through that. So good, we made it out one burst gauge there. So I mean, ideally, best case scenario, you know, you kind of get three other Kaido bursts on this second stage. That way you really don't have to worry about any going into the final stage. But that's kind of the theory, right? You never know how many specials are actually going to go. Now, luckily for us, because we had the death hits of Garp, even though we skipped, it triggered all the specials for that second fight, just because we did the normal damage from just doing damage, the damage from the death hit from Garp. It was enough to make sure that that was all changed and kind of gives an advantage going into this final fight. Again, it's kind of an int team here. We really don't have that many side units on here, so we have to worry about the Apu. S-Hawk obviously does damage to defense. You have to worry about that. The Blackbeard there gives a bunch of debuffs for CT speed. But that doesn't really matter when you have the ability to do a burst that will cut away 30% of the enemy's CT. It just makes it so you don't have to kind of worry and make sure that our guys definitely go first. It also gives us a little bit of a CT burst as well. So you can see, I thought I had actually bursted out all of the Kaido shots. Apparently I did not, but that was the final Kaido shot there. So we ended up baiting out 2 in that second fight, 1 in the first fight, so we still had 1 more, which he just used. So luckily for us, that means that at this point, he has no more specials. We are going to take a little bit of a shot here from Yamato. Now, the only saving grace here was that the Luffy was forced out. So luckily, he didn't get that death hit that you saw when we were doing the previous fight. So that was the good news there, able to kind of keep him out there. And that basically means that once he goes, we are all set, right? They're not going to beat us with kind of what they have out here. At the 50-second mark, they get the additional debuff from our burst leader there. So yeah, at this point, there's really nothing that they can do to win. Of course, we have the Usopp and Lilith to just kind of doing a special line there, which they'll just do in just a second there. And then basically it's just waiting for Luffy Bonnie to go. And once that happens, it's pretty much going to be lights out for them. we'll end up securing our 3rd win of the day, which is awesome. You love to see that. And just a mental note for myself to not fight any other Kaido captains this season, just because having to face 4 Kaido bursts is just ridiculous. Especially, you know, any 4 burst leader is really tough to deal with, especially as you saw in that last fight with Kuma. It just makes it really hard to kind of get a rhythm going. So yeah, there we go. We're able to secure the win. So that wraps up this day here. We're gonna have one more day of fights for you, just to kind of show you how that final day go. Again, we'll try to do some unorthodox captains there, so captains we haven't fought yet, and hopefully we can kind of keep going with the luck. So let's get right to those matches right now. Alright, so let's get into the next series of matches. So let's go ahead and take on the Psy Luffy to see how he actually is this season. So if you don't know, the Psy Luffy gets his burst gauge charged by doing damage. So basically, as long as we can make sure that we can out damage them, should be able to pretty easily get through this. Again, what we have here is the Strength team up front. Now, the advantage to this team here is that we obviously have the Boa and the Luffy, who are both quick units. We also have the Warcree, the Weevil, and the best of the backbench there, who are also quick units as well. So it should be a pretty simple match, as long as we can kind of get our specials to go before then. Now, the advantage that we have is that with the Blackbeard there, kind of giving the CT reduction there, that should get us enough hits to be able to get our special going if we can't get the rest of everyone else's special. Now, lucky for us, because this team is a glass cannon team, once Boa goes, there's just literally nothing they can do, and then once Luffy goes, there's literally nothing that they can do. So, really easy way to wrap up that first fight. They probably barely charge their burst gauge more than like 5 or 10%. And that gives us a full burst gauge for this fight as well. So switch teams around a little bit there. Had my kind of star team go in the middle. That way we can kind of wrap this up a little bit quicker. So on this team here, again, the Kizaru was a little bit of a pain to deal with. The Pizarro at the end there does some shenanigans. And you have the Salmon Wolf, of course, on the backbench. But really nothing on this team really scares me. When we have the Luffy and Bonnie special go, which should force out Jupiter there, which will kind of help out a good amount. And you'll see we do the special rewind here, as well as a little bit of a death hit. Once Kuma goes, you should do a nice little attack here, get the Luffy and Bonnie ready to go. Unfortunately, we took that shot first from the Kizaru, but that's because he's dead, so that's the only positive there. So yeah, at this point, there's really nothing they can do. We wiped out pretty much their whole bench. They have just their backbench coming in, and there's just no way they're going to win with their backbench against our full Free Spirit team there. So good showing for that first fight. We'll try to do a little bit harder fights for the upcoming one. I didn't think it would be this easy to get through that Psy Luffy, but hey, it was. So for fight number 2, what we're going to do here, I actually don't know what Noshitaru does or even how many bursts he has. But you know what? I have the team here that can really kind of stand with them and do pretty good. So in this team that I'm having up front, which is kind of the key Free Spirit team, obviously they can do a lot of force out for these 5 Elders characters, which is why I wanted to have them go first, where I wasn't worried about what was in the background. Now, I kind of lucked out in that Noshitaru only has 2 burst abilities, which is awesome for this season, so makes it a lot easier to deal with. And you'll see throughout these fights, he won't actually be able to even use his burst ability, so it makes it a million times easier. The downside to this first fight is that when you're fighting the 5 Elders teams, it's really hard if you have one of them that can resist the force out like Saturn can. If you can't kill that backbench unit or kill that Saturn really quick, then it's easier for them to all come back, right? And then you have to deal with a bunch of specials when they come back pretty quickly. That's kind of what you'll see here. So we'll do a bunch of force out to everyone but Saturn. Unfortunately, we didn't really have the Sabo and Koala ready to go right away. It would have been great if they were kind of ready to go, but you can see that they already came back that quickly. And now, of course, they're all pretty close to getting their specials ready to go. Of course, I can use my burst to kind of rewind their specials if I need to. But really, I'm just kind of waiting for the Sabo and Koala to go, see how much damage they can do. And then hopefully that's enough to kind of charge that burst gauge enough for us to actually do some damage. Luckily, we were able to do that. I didn't want to have to deal with the Elders actually attacking. So, boom, we'll use a special there. Of course, get some haste some species reduction to some of our units. Boom, Luffy, Bonnie go, and they just wipe out everyone again except for Saturn. So, Saturn's just the spider boy who just keeps going around. Now, they do have the Pika on the bench, so that means that even once I kill these units, it's going to be really annoying to have to deal with that Pika on the back bench. It just gives such defense to these teams that just makes it really hard to kill without just a bunch of pain. So you can see we ended up doing it, but it took took a while to kind of get through that, just because of that ability of Saturn to stay in the fight. But at this point, I know it's GG's. Again, it's the strength team versus kind of a team that has 2 predominant quick units. So basically, as long as those units go, it's game over. We have our burst gauge 80% of the way charged, so we'll definitely get that off before they go. Of course, the waifu there can do some nasty confusion shenanigans. You have the Sabo kind of boost, the Kobe there who does a lot of boost for that strength team. Of course, Jack with the HP cuts, Kuma with the hit through defense. But like I said, no match for us. That HP cut basically itself was enough to take out Luffy, and at that point, like, it's GG. So he is kind of their main damage dealer. Outside of Kumu, who can do obviously some damage, but Luffy is kind of the main component of that team that does it. So, boom, once Boa goes, and she was just about to go, but decided not to, here we go. She goes, she just knocks out everyone, and it's 8v1. No way they're going to do anything to us to really put us in a position where we're going to lose there. So that wraps up that second fight of the day nicely. Don't have to worry about the third fight. So for the final fight of the day, let's go ahead and take a look at the leaders that are there. So, you know what? We haven't faced the Luffy, Sanji, Zoro too often yet, so we're going to go ahead and take on that team. Of course, for that first fight there, it looks like it's the int version, I believe, of the team. Oh, no, it's again the strength version. So could have actually thrown the team that has Boa and Luffy in the slot instead. Probably would have actually made more sense, to be honest with you. But again, the reason this team excels so much is Caesar just does a bunch of CT reduction. Kuma just lets his hit get off, lets Luffy Bonnie go, gives them CT reduction, and just lets us just hit like a tank. And because this team is so much of a glass cannon, it's really easy to kind of kill them with the special. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do there. So we still haven't killed them, though we are getting a little bit closer. So it's probably have to wait till Sabo and Koala go. Unfortunately for us, they are just going to miss their chance to go with their special not being ready. So again, we're going to have to maybe wait for a rotation. But we could use another special. There's no reason, I guess, not to. Just so we can kind of get through this pretty quickly. So we were able to beat them 8-0. Didn't have to take a burst yet, which is good. And we go ahead into fight number 2. So fight number 2, again, it was really whether we wanted to have the type advantage for fight number 1, or have this team which really debuffs the shooter units with the S-Snake on here. So ultimately I ended up choosing the S-Snake to go against this team. Again, they're a perfect counter to take down this team, which is great. So basically what that means is because we already have our burst gauge halfway charged, we don't have to worry about TreCru kind of giving the 30% CT reduction that she gives or anything like that. Now, that was my thought initially. What I didn't plan for was Luffy Zoro special being so crazy, right? So you can see we took an absolutely nasty shot. And when that happened, we just didn't have the HP there, right? So I wasn't going to waste the burst there. If we didn't take that shot from the burst of Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro, then it might have been a different story. But hey, sometimes that's how it is. So unfortunately, I don't like to have this team go last just because it's probably the weakest of the 3 teams. But in this case, we're doing a mirror match right now. My Luffy, Zoro, Sanji was 150. I feel pretty confident that we can go first. We have the Akainu and the Law, who just gives a lot more bulk than the Robin and units that they have on their side there. So it just makes it really easy to kind of get there. I'm just going to make sure to use our burst special right away. That way we guarantee basically Garp to go. And yeah, once Garp goes once, basically it's over because his death hit will just do an absolute ton of damage. Now, the Luffy Zoro Sanji does get a bunch of revives, so you do have to kind of watch out a little bit for that, but really there's nothing at this point that they can do to really stop us. And you can see Garp's still alive with just the units there. We can go ahead and skip, get us the full victories there, get us to 9 out of 9, which is perfect. And that's going to wrap up the video for today. Again, I'll have maybe one more tomorrow, we'll see. But because we didn't get the max rewards or didn't start on the reset for the first day, we can't get 15 out of 15. So, like I said, we'll go to 12 out of 15, definitely. But that is going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how your season of Grand Party is going so far. Are you still using Luffy Bonnie? Are you using Kuma? I'm really curious to see what people are using for GP leaders this season. So as always, until next time, be kind to each other. Thanks.